Welcome to the Nebraska Shootaround podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Bigelow, the men's basketball beat writer for Varsity. And joining me is a very, very happy Jacob Bigelow, who is basking in the glow of another Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl championship as we record this late on Sunday night. Bigelow, how's it feel to be a Super Bowl champion again?
It feels nice. I will just say that. It feels good. Lesser men than me would have said, no, we're not going to record a podcast today. I'm going to go do other things. But no, I was able to eat some good barbecue that my dad made. We had some good food, good football, and a good result. And one hell of a sports weekend on top of that from start to finish. An interesting couple of days, but it feels good. Feels nice. Never going to apologize for a win either. So here we are. And let's talk a little ball.
Let's soft call, but Chiefs were probably going to win anyway. Doesn't really bother me as much as it might have bothered some people. Sorry, Eagles, you played a great game. Probably need to get a stop, at least just one stop.
Yeah, sorry,
one stop in the second half.
Yeah, sorry, Philly. Get a stop. Also, if we heard about your all-time good pass rush and you had no sacks, that's all I'll say. You had no sacks. You didn't get a single stop in the second half. So, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. It was a great game, though. Just a lot of fun up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
What wasn't fun was Nebraska's trip to Ann Arbor. We'll briefly touch on that before focusing on the happy result from the weekend. Nebraska went to Michigan, lost 93-72. When a team is shooting 75% from the field through, 13 minutes of game time, you're going to have a tough time winning that thing. And that's kind of the entire story there. Michigan hit 14 threes, shot almost 60% from the field. Just going to be hard to keep up for that, especially for a team like Nebraska, where offense is such a struggle. They actually did play decently well on offense, but again, they gave up 93 points and 14 threes. Just not going to work.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of become, it's more than a cliche at this point, like just teams shooting their best against Nebraska, like guys having career days, just really good days from three. This was that, like, on steroids, especially Jett Howard, who finished with 22. He did finish with 22 on 17 shots. He was going crazy early on. That was I forget what the run. It was 30-5 was the run in the first half. It was like something along those lines. Just next level, just absurdity. There's really no other word to put it. If you looked at a box score and you see Nebraska was 48% from the field, 35% from three, and you'd think,
only 8 turnovers.
Only 8 turnovers. You'd think, like, damn, solid result. Nope, it was a 21-point loss because the other team just don't know what they had for breakfast or what they did to, get the shooting touch back. But, impressive display from Michigan, and Nebraska couldn't have done much else, really, in my opinion. So,
and the crazy part about it was everybody else in the first half. Like, Hunter Dickinson didn't get his first points until like 4 minutes ago in the first half. He finished with 16 points and 10 boards. I believe, 14 and 9 of that came in the second half. So Nebraska in the first half, they sent their doubles like they often do against talented post players. Second half, with them torching them from beyond the arc. Jett Howard got up 4 threes in like the first 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Hit 2 of them, missed 2, but like that's the guy that like Hoiberg spent half of this preview press conference talking about Howard and his ability and all that. And that's a guy you come out and let him get off 4 good looks, like right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, they adjusted some, tried to play Dickinson one-on-one more, and he just ate him alive again, 14 and 9 in the second half alone. They just everything they tried. Michigan, like their zones, they picked apart whatever zone they switched to, and they weren't able to stay in them long. And just one of those games on the road in the Big Ten, things didn't go Nebraska's way. The one good thing is Keisei Tominaga continued his stretch, followed up that 30-point game that we basically did an entire podcast on with 24 against Michigan, 10 of 16 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. So again, continued to shoot well from 3, but also find other ways to score. Had really nice like up and under over Dickinson move that Hoiberg really liked. Just continuing to be a high level scorer. And that Derek Walker, 15 points, 8 assists. He continues to pass the ball well and find Tominaga. The chemistry those two have developed has been phenomenal. So that was a good for Michigan, and that's pretty much where the good stopped. I guess I mentioned the 8 turnovers, but again, this was a stretch of teams that don't really try to force turnovers that much. So it's a little bit of Nebraska being better, a little bit of the competition and their playing style. But kind of listening to Sam Griesel talk, but after this game and heading into the Wisconsin game on Saturday, he talked about how they just really need to get back to their defensive identity. Because you look at their results since losing Juwan Gary and Emmanuel Banamel, again, the two guys, the black shirts, the heart and soul of the defense. Yeah, they had the win against Ohio State in 63-60 where they played well defensively, but after that, they gave up 76, 78, 82, 72, 63 in that win against Penn State, the one good game, then 93 against Michigan. So the defense had really slipped. Again, this was once a top 40 defense on KenPom. They're barely hanging in. They might have even they're 59 now. They might have dropped out of the top 60 or been close to it. I can't remember what it was now before the Wisconsin game, but the team that the defense had really slipped, which is understandable in certain respects. You lose your best defenders, and now you got to try different things, and guys are being asked to do things that they haven't done all year. But there really were, on top of just the plays where they got beat physically, there were a lot of miscues, a lot of mental mistakes and things like that. So I think that's kind of a lot of what they were talking about going into this Wisconsin game. And they go in there and overtime hold Wisconsin to 63 points in a 73-63 win, which telling you the final result does not even come close to describing what happened and how they got there. We'll get into that here and the rest of the podcast, but just off the top, you give up 63 points in an overtime game. Wisconsin's not a great, certainly not a great offensive team. In fact, they struggle mightily on that end of the floor, but it's still impressive to hold a team to 36% shooting in 45 minutes of game time. So I think we saw Nebraska get kind of back to those defensive roots. And I was not there to watch it live. I had to relive it, caught part of the kind of replay on Big Ten Network after I got home from Grand Island. And then today I rewatched the game and went through my notes and everything. But what was your takeaway sitting up there in press row at Pinnacle Bank Arena?
It was first off, largest comeback for the program since the second to last game at the Devaney Center in February of 2013. That is the Dylan Talley game, winner. That was the biggest comeback since then.
They were down 17, by the way. That was the comeback. If you had,
they were down 17. They were down 17 with I think just over 16 minutes to go in the game, and then they came and then the 20-2 run, then 12-0 run in overtime. The old corny adage, basketball is a game of runs. Well, this proved that to be true. We saw the flip side of that against Michigan, 30-5. 20-2 in the span of 5 minutes. I mean, it was just, it was 5 minutes of game time, obviously not 5 minutes of real time, but and the run started with Keisei and it ended with Keisei. And we heard from Fred after the game, coming out in the second half, he said that the way they crashed the glass in the second half allowed him to run with a big, eating grin across his face, said it allowed us to run really complicated offense. I said, find Keisei and screen him. And that's what that's what they did. And Wisconsin allowed him to get hot. and that was echoed by Greg Gard, Tyler Wall, and Chucky Hepburn, that what was the detriment for them was letting Keisei get hot.
Yeah.
And in these last 3 games, I calculated this, some real hard math here, just typing 3 games worth of stats into into my phone. Last 3 games for Keisei Tominaga. So this is Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin.
He finished with 22 in this game, by the way.
With 22.
Game high 22.
So 30, 24,
yep.
and then 22. So he is averaging 25.3 points per game, shooting 60.4% from the field and 48.2% from 3. That's absolutely ridiculous for any player.
Yeah.
And what's, if at the start of the year you would have told me that going into March, the top of the scouting report would be Keisei Tominaga, I don't know how I would have reacted, but here we are. This is the reality we are living in right now.
So obviously he's on an absolute heater right now, but going back even beyond that, like starting with the Purdue game, the second Purdue game, he has scored in double figures in 8 of his last 9. The Maryland game, the one game where Hoiberg started Sam Hoiberg in his place.
Oh, that was Illinois.
Yeah, that's right. It followed up. But coming off of the Maryland game, when he did not, it was one quiet and then he made the change. Yeah, 1 for 3 in that game. Didn't really do a whole lot. Only played 22 minutes. Outside of that, like he's just been consistently getting buckets. And it's recently it's been the three's been on every single game. But he's finding ways to score even when the three three isn't falling. He's just evolving into such a smart player. Like I've talked about, broken down at various points now. Finished with 22 on 7 of 14 shooting, 5 of 11 from 3, and some of the shots he was hitting. Like that's Wisconsin. In early on, you could see you knew he was the top of the game plan. The way they were being physical with him. They were grabbing, they're pushing him, jumping over screens, trying to stay attached. They were talking trash with them. Was it Klesmet or?
Yeah, looking at you, Max Klesmet. he was chirping him.
And in case it did get a little worked up early on, and Hoiberg subbed him out early, sat him down, I think, to let him kind of regather himself and get kind of mentally locked back in, because he was showing some frustration. And even throughout the first half, Wisconsin defended him well. He didn't get loose very often, didn't get many looks. Then he finally got free for that 3 late in the half. Finished with 5 points in the first half, and then second half was just man, yeah, it's unreal. And some of the shots. So I've got more details on those runs here, but the first shot, he hit 4 threes during that run, back-to-back threes twice during their big run in the second half. And the first one ran off a screen, got him free for a clean look. Okay, good, mostly open shot. Then the next 3 were all just like, dude, just contest. So there was a like transition, hand in the face, quick release, let it go, buried it. And I've said he is actually a much better contested catch and shoot player than he is a wide open one, oddly enough. Shooting percentage, many more of his looks have been contested than they haven't been, which makes sense. Combination of attention that teams are paying him, and plus he's not a guy that does typically create a lot of separation just from a physical standpoint. But man, then the step back he had. I'm trying to remember. There was another one that was just ridiculous. A really hard.
The first one he hit was absurd. It was from the FNBO logo again. Yeah. Like people were waiting for like hell of an atmosphere yesterday. I'll say this. I walked in.
I was going to ask you about that later.
I walked in and I tweeted. I feel a buzz. I feel some juice in here. I don't know what it was, but at least, especially in the first half when they struggled so much on O, and it took a while for Keisei to get a shot, let alone make one. That crowd was chomping at the bit for Keisei to nail a 3, and I think most of the biggest pops from that crowd were on Keisei threes. One, for what they meant during the game, and two, they just love this dude. They love this dude, man. I don't know if you saw the video I quote tweeted earlier of somebody wearing a Keisei Nebraska jersey at the Waste Management Open in Phoenix this weekend. Like, the sensation that's sweeping the nation is Keisei Tominaga. And it's, we've called it a roller coaster at points of the season. I called it an EKG when I was doing radio over the weekend. But, it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun to watch this dude just when he's on a heater and he's just doing Keisei stuff. Like, there's no other way to put it. Just it's all him. It's his passion. It's his energy, and it's very, very fun to watch.
We're talking about now. Obviously, the threes, contest all that. Probably my favorite bucket that he hit was maybe overtime. Kind of start their run there. Coast to coast, grab the rebound, push it up ahead, just blew right by Klesman, who down in the stands ready for him. Like, Keisei Tominaga off the bounce, just ran right past him, went in there and finished it like he was standing in quicksand. It was like, wait, what? Like, again, just the confidence level that he continues to play with is just trying more things and being successful at more things than I ever thought would be possible. Again, like, watching some of his JUCO tape and that type of stuff, like, I thought, yeah, this guy does have a rare shooting touch, but physically, I worry, like, how is this going to work? How is he going to get open? What can he do beyond catch and shoot? That type of stuff. And he's showing, like, now that it does translate with his improvement. Because last year he had stretches where you could kind of see it, but it didn't really work. He wasn't a consistently viable, useful player at the Division I level last year. And it's tough for guys making the JUCO transition. We see it year after year. That the guy that comes in cleanly and picks up right where he left off is a rare one.
We've seen it at Nebraska since Fred Hoiberg got here with other JUCO guards. And we're going to talk about another JUCO product having arguably his most impactful minutes as a Husker when he only scored 2 points.
Yes. But the other news that we learned about Keisei this week via Sam Griesel is that apparently he and Oleg Koyenets have a fierce rivalry in practice. Just nonstop trash talk. Those guys going at it, playing one-on-one. I desperately need it. You don't have to let us in. I need their own in-house people to document this. I need to see what this looks like in person. I need to hear the trash talk.
I want a BTN The Journey feature on the Journey team was in Lincoln yesterday. They picked quite the game to be there for. I don't know if they were doing something on Keisei or on Sam or whatever, but they were in town. So stay tuned to BTN for what may come from that. And I don't know what it is about foreign guys in Lincoln, but I can tell you this. McVeigh, Ty, and Thor were the same way. I don't know what it was. But
international rivalry.
I guess, man. I guess. Like, they were the same way every single day. And it's funny to hear that. Just 6'2" Keisei and 7 foot tall.
Japanese Keisei Tominaga against 7 foot Lithuanian Oleg
7 foot Lithuanian Oleg Koyenets.
That's trash talk.
Yeah, just the visual is hilarious of that.
So that made my week, hearing that from Sam. So that was before the game, going into it. So just the fact that this story continues to be something we need to talk about every single episode is just great. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Fred. I'm happy for that team. But listening to the teammates talk about him too, like, you can tell, like, how much those guys enjoy it, are enjoying this as well, and seeing him, how much fun he has, being able to play with him, just the energy and all that. Like, how many times have we heard Keisei's Keisei, or you got to let Keisei be Keisei, from coaches, teammates. It's just it's a really fun story right now for a program that really deserves fun stories, considering how things have gone over the last several years now. But back to this game in particular. So you talked about the game of runs. So it got off to kind of a clunky start, but Nebraska managed to hang around. It was tied 10-10 about 6.5 minutes into the game. Then Wisconsin delivered the first blow, 12-2 run. And Nebraska went 0 for 6 or 1 for 6 with a couple of turnovers in that 5.5 minutes as Wisconsin built up a 10-point lead there. Meanwhile, Wisconsin went 5 for 7, hit 2 threes, and had an offensive rebound that led to a putback. So just neither end really working for them there. Nebraska did, at that point, kind of settled down, made a pushback. They scored 9 straight, and a lot of it was off of stops leading to transition buckets, scoring in the open floor, making the game easier on themselves. So again, that defensive identity, that's where it starts with this team. And that's how they were able to get back into that game there. And the end of that 9-0 run was that 3 from Keisei. And happened off where Sam turnover, like Sejan dived on the ball, got it, wasn't able to like get it out of his hands to a teammate. Nebraska made the hustle play to get it back, threw it right ahead to Keisei and knocked it down. So again, a broken play, kind of transition opportunity based off of hustle. It wasn't necessarily half-court execution, anything like that. It's just good hustle leading to an open play and an opportunity, and Keisei made it count. So feeling good there, and then fell right back into kind of the rut and the turnovers, the not taking care of business on defense and on the defensive glass in particular, spanning the end of the first half and into the second half, first 2.5 minutes. So this was about 7.5 minutes of game time. Wisconsin outscored Nebraska 21-5 to build up that 17-point lead. And during that time, Nebraska took just 5 shots. 5 shots in 5 free throws. So I believe there's an and one in there. It's a bonus. So basically 8 attempts to get the ball up on the basket in 7.5 minutes of actual game time, because they had 6 turnovers during that stretch. And they only secured 1 offensive rebound. 1 of 5, 0 for 2 from 3, 3 of 5 from the line with 6 turnovers. That's how you score 5 points in 7.5 minutes. Wisconsin during that stretch, 8 of 15 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 1 of 2 from the line. They only had 1 turnover, and they had 4 offensive rebounds. So again, not taking care of business on the defensive glass. You're giving them second chance points. You're limiting your own ability to go score in the open court, to get an easy bucket, to get your confidence, to get your rhythm back. So it starts on the defensive end there, and that's how Wisconsin was able to build up that 17-point lead. So after that, you fell behind by 17. You trade a couple buckets here and there. I think it was Sam might have been that kind of got him back in the scoring column, and then back and forth. So it's 17, and then the next big run, 20-2 Nebraska. So turned it right around. And about the same thing in the span of 5 minutes of game time to take the lead at 48-47. I believe that was their first lead of the game.
It was.
With 11:14 to play. So during that stretch, they shot 7 of 10 with 4 threes and 2 of 3 from the free throw line. 0 turnovers. Funny how that works. You take care of the ball, you get a chance to score, and you capitalize. And during that run is when you had back-to-back Keisei threes to start it off. You had Derek in the post. Jamarcus missed a 3. They got offensive rebound. Sam missed a 3. And Sam got to the line, split free throws. Sam and one made the free throw this time. Sam Hoiberg got in, who, again, continues to be a story, continues to be a contributing piece of this roster now. Got in there, probably got fouled, but threw up a wild shot. But Blaise Keita, the guy you were alluding to earlier, right there to put it back in. Only bucket of the game, but an important one, and just begins to speak to the impact he had on the game. But made his bucket during there, and then back-to-back Keisei threes to close it out. So that's the anatomy of a 22 run. On the other side, Wisconsin shot 1 of 8. Missed all 5 of their threes and had a turnover. And so the 22 run to get it back to they took the lead. back and forth that way. It was close the rest of regulation. Wisconsin scored 5 in a row to go ahead by 4, and that's the most separation the rest of the way. There were four lead changes and 4 ties in that last 11 minutes of the game, culminating in the last almost 2 minutes of scoreless basketball to send it to overtime.
Yeah, I think the last mid field goal was Chucky with like 2:40. And that was the last field goal of regulation.
So first, let's talk about, before we get into what happened in overtime, let's talk about that run and the whole second half. Derek Walker and Fred Hoiberg talked about this in the press game afterward. He joked right off the bat that he had given the game ball to Derek for committing those 2 dumb turnovers to start the half right away, because that's what led to him sitting Walker down and giving Blaise Keita a chance to play. In the first half, he didn't we got to mention Wilhelm Breinbach started in place of Denham Dawson, so they switched it up, tried to go bigger against the kind of post-heavy Wisconsin team where you've got Tyler Wall at the 4 and Stephen Crowell at the 5. So started big, but it went to Keita early on in the first half. Keita 0 minutes. He got in there for a few seconds, it looks like, or did he not even play at all? So he played either he didn't play at all or he played less than 30 seconds. Sometimes hard looking at this, but because Dawson played 7 minutes, Breidenbach played 10, Walker played almost the entire half, played 19 minutes. So you flip to the second half, and Blaise gets his number called early, or like right away, and does not sit down again. He overtime he briefly sat down, but played like basically the last 19 minutes of the first half. And we saw the Derek Walker Blaise at 4, Blaise Keita at the 5 for a very long stretch of that game during the run. So not only were they playing it, it was working, and they were finding a way to make it work on both ends, surprisingly enough. And that's like offense. Like you think how you have those 2 guys out there, but with I mean, there was at one point, like, it didn't actually go anywhere, but there was one point where Derek Walker was running a pick and roll with Blaise. Like, he had Blaise set a screen for him as he was dribbling the ball. Again, ended up picking out, but just the visual of the 4-5 pick and roll, or 5-5 pick and roll. Like, obviously Derek's their starting center, and they've been playing the 4, but so that was just fun. And then Sam Griesel picked up a foul at one point, and they had the lineup of Sam Hoiberg, Jamarcus Lawrence, Keisei Tominaga, Derek Walker, and Blaise Keita. I just had to write that down, because imagine saying, like, at the start of the season, you'll be seeing this lineup in a game that Nebraska, not only period, but in a game where Nebraska dug themselves out of a 17-point hole.
And won by double digits.
Yeah, this lineup was part of that comeback. I really would like to see what that reaction would be, because it's just kind of insanity to think about that. No one saw this coming, but found a way to make it work. So again, credit to Hoiberg, his staff, and those players for, like, at this point with where the roster is, like, he's just throwing so much stuff up there at the wall and seeing what sticks. And credit to these guys for finding a way to gut this game out. Again, having to try different things. I'm not sure even how much they've worked on any of this stuff. Some of these lineups and some of what they had to do, but so
he talked last week about how they practiced a lineup with Griesel at the 5.
Yeah, Penn State with Penn State matchups. Yep, Miles Dredd is the backup 5. Yeah.
Yep, I mean they are throwing the kitchen sink at this the rest of the way. Just whatever, like, all hands on deck. We're gonna get weird. Like Fred. If I was John Rothstein, thank God I'm not. My tagline for this season would be Fred Hoiberg, Nebraska basketball. Let's get weird, because that's just what it's been. It's what it's been this year, and Like we've now both said, what if we told you at the start of the year? Like it's it's crazy what has transpired since November. But I mean all I know is there are people out there, the trio of wins: Creighton, Iowa, Wisconsin, and 2 of those at home, and one of those on the road, in 50 miles up the road. That's a good year to some people.
You give Nebraska fan the schedule. What are the teams like immediately? Top 3 teams that you want to see wins over this year?
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 very well might have been the answer, and they've done it.
Yep.
So yeah, that was. But talked about them kind of figuring some weird stuff out offensively with Keita. He only missed a short jumper off a great pass from Jamarcus Lawrence. And they had the one putback. Those are his only 2 shots he took. But defensively, man, he changed the game. In the first half, Wisconsin, I mean, Nebraska went with standard, a lot of double teams in the post, even starting the double big light. They still sent the extra body, and Wisconsin was just picking them apart. The threes they were getting in the first half were shooter's pocket, catch and shoot, open look, good look. They shot 6 of 12 from 3 in the first half. Second half, they allowed Keita to play straight up man on one-on-one in the post, and Stephen Crowell really did not have any success. It might have been one play where he got him, but Keita really, for the most part, stonewalled him, shut him down, forced him into some tough shots that he didn't make. He took a charge at one point, which is what he does, as Fred Hoiberg has said I don't know how many times, and you notice the threes that Wisconsin was getting in the second half. The quality was just much different. And they ended up shooting 3 of 14 from 3 in the second half. Connor Season is a really good shooter for them. 1 of 6 from 3 in the second half. And there were some tough shots. So again, like his presence out there allowed them to change what they were doing defensively and made it easier to take away a lot of the other stuff because they trust that a guy like Keita will be able to hold his own in the post and not need help. And that changes everything because like we've talked how many times about Nebraska's had success, but with the scrambling, you're constantly out of position trying to make things up. The other team always has numbers. It's such a fine line to walk, and it's hard to be consistently good at it. If just a slight slip up and the other team's banging a 3, getting a dunk, whatever. This allows them to play just more solid, straight up, and take away those easy looks for them. So that's, you add the overtime minutes, and Keita finished with 11 rebounds in 23 minutes. Took a charge, had that one putback, had some contested rebounds as well. Had some really nice, let's see, what do you have? Yeah, 3 of those were offensive, and none of those were really gimmies. They were all great hustle, physical type of rebounds. He had 2 steals as well. Took that charge. So Hoiberg, he joked about giving the game ball for Walker for forcing him to put Keita in, but really Keita got the game ball, and Nebraska put that video out on the Husker Hoops Twitter account if you want to see that there on social. Just kind of look at that moment for a guy that's battled through so much with the adjustment early on and kind of playing time here and there, thrust into the starting role with Walker missing those first 5 games plus the exhibition, kind of struggling early on, trying to find just the speed of the game and all that type of stuff, and then getting hurt, battling through it, trying to play injured, just not being fully recovered. To see him come out and have a performance like that again. Not like you look at the box score, no, 2 points or whatever, but they were plus 20 with him on the court, and he was a huge part of why they were able to get back into this game. So credit to Nebraska and Coach Ernie Ziegler working with him off to the side to get him ready, and Keita made the most of his opportunity.
Absolutely. That's been a theme these last couple of weeks. Guys making the most of the opportunities. Unfortunate circumstances, obviously, with the injuries, everything that this team's battled. Fred said in the postgame, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was this year it's like he's coached 3 teams.
Yeah.
He said Derek missed the first 5. That's a completely different team. Then we had our planned rotation and our core group. and now we're on team 3, and it's been quite the year. But credit to Fred for continuing to adjust given the circumstances, and just digging deep in that bag of basketball experience that he's got to make things work for this team.
And Sam Hoiberg hit a big 3. I think Jamarcus Lawrence hit a big 3 down the stretch of that game. Like you said, got it down close at the end. Both teams had a chance to take the lead in the final minute. Derek Walker got blocked by Crowell in the post trying to go one-on-one, gave Wisconsin essentially the last possession. There was like 1 second differential in shot clock, and called a timeout, and comes out, ball's in Chucky Hepburn's hands, obviously. And I mean, I'm sure like you and I have both seen numerous instances where Chucky had the ball in his hand late in a big game and
was fully expecting the left wing deep 3 step back dagger that has been his go-to. It's been his go-to move since like the summer of 2019 AAU ball.
Well, and
it's what he does. And if you thought anyone was going to take that shot, I'm sorry. And that includes you, Greg Gard, who told us after the game that they drew something up to get to the paint. I did rewatch the playback. You can see him telling Chucky to go, telling him to try to get past his defender and go in there. But I mean, it would have been a Hollywood script. Hate to say it. Would have been Hollywood script if he takes that shot, makes that shot, and it rimmed out, so we avoided that.
I think I saw you tweet out that the quote or whatever, and I think my response was, does he realize his team is really bad at that? 325th in the country in 2-point percentage.
Mm-hmm.
They're really bad at scoring, and we'll get to that. But and so I'm sure had I been there watching, I was like, he let that thing go. I'm like, oh, that's probably going in. Because again,
I looked at Drake. I'll be honest. So Drake Keeler, who's been on the podcast, he was covering the game in your place.
Happy belated birthday, Drake.
Happy belated birthday, Drake. Quite a game.
When I asked him if he would be interested in covering for me, I had no idea that it was going to be this is his birthday at the time. I hadn't just thought about it. So when he made that tweet, I was like, dang it, I'm not going to work on his birthday. But at the very least, he got a really fun game to
absolutely
cover, so.
Absolutely. We were kind of laughing walking into the press room, like, happy birthday, Drake, welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, so Aaron in our Slack channel, Aaron Sorensen, just tweeted Jacob in all caps after the game, and my response I think was did I just get kicked off my own beat?
But no, I'm dead. So
Drake's beat now.
Yeah, so they called the timeout, and I look at Drake and I go, we know who's taking this shot, right? We know where this is going. And I pulled up the clip from the Wisconsin Marquette game early in the year where he hit that that same shot, the left wing step back dagger, late game shot. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen this in Millard North Gym. I've seen this at the UBT Sports Complex. I've seen this before, and you knew it was coming. But So then we
let it go. Caught the left side of the rim and rolled out there. Got a pretty good look at it. But doesn't quite have Keisei range. I forgot to mention, even before going in this game, he was shooting 43% from 27 plus feet or for 25 plus feet. So, all those Keisei bombs is 40%, I believe, from 27 plus. The Keisei, he legitimately does have that range. So don't be surprised when he's pulling up from various places in the Midwest.
I saw someone made a map. Someone made a map for reference. So that was one of the better things I saw online this week. But I mean, then we go to OT. Wisconsin gets an early bucket, and they don't score again. And then Derek Walker just says, "It's Derek Walker time," and does what we've seen him do all year, slam the door.
So 2, 4, 6 big plays that I wrote down to kind of secure the game for this. So traded misses or Wisconsin missed the first shot, and then Nebraska turned it over. So there's turnover again. Derek, I think it was, stuck the butt out on the screen. It's like, dude, and that's like a tangent on the turnovers before we finish the game here. Nebraska finished with 15 turnovers, which led to 19 points the other way for Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they're right around average in terms of forcing turnovers. So again, not a team like the St. John's, like some of the others where they struggled with. We thought maybe they had cleaned some things up in that recent stretch. Single digit 2-3 games in a row. But again, competition was part of that. Looking at these turnovers, so many of them, it's just careless. It's bad spacing. It's bad decision making. It's just straight up losing the ball. I mean, Derek dribbled off his own foot at one point. And that's the one thing. Like Derek, as good as he is, he's admitted it. He had 8 turnovers in this game. 8 of those 15 turnovers were Derek Walker. He only had 1 assist in the game and 8 turnovers. This is a guy that's going to have the game, 18 points and 8 boards as well. Was really good in other aspects of the game, but you just cannot afford to have 8 turnovers like that. And just, again, too many of these weren't necessarily forced. I thought there were a couple digging in, and even then, it's like that spacing. It's, you got to know that they're going to be coming at that point. Communication, your teammates maybe got to let you know coming in from the backside, all that type of stuff. But so much of those turnovers were well within their control. Just getting too sped up, just all kinds of different ways to turn the ball over. So they're not going to get away with that if against a better offensive team that's going to produce even more points and create too big of a gap for Nebraska to dig itself out of. But that's neither here or there, because that was the last turnover of the game. Crowell scored in the post to give them the lead. I think that might have been on Keita, might have been the only bucket that Crowell had directly on Keita all game. They did not make another shot the rest of the way. And they had 3 turnovers. Wisconsin did 0 for 6, including 0 of 5 from 3 with 3 turnovers down the stretch. And like 2 or 3 of those were desperation threes at the end after Nebraska had already built up the lead because of the turnovers. So kind of the sequence there. I talked about the Tominaga kind of coast to coast bucket on Klesmit. That led it off. That tied the game. Then next possession, Derek Walker crossed up Tyler Wall, blew by him, and went right to the basket for the finish. Just made him look silly. Then on the other end, Blaise Keita stepped in, took that charge, got outside the circle, got himself planted, doing what he does. And from that turnover, Walker got the ball inside him. I mean, ran a little pick and roll with Keisei, threw it back to him, cleared out. Derek faced up, just went to work. What we've seen him do 1,000 times, like off the dribble, back to the basket, spin, bucket, little baby hook type of thing. Just tough bucket. And then next time down, so what Wisconsin did is they had Crowell set a screen for Chucky to pop out to the wing. And Sam Hoiberg, who again was in the closing lineup in regulation and was out there in overtime as well, fought through the screen, got out to this, and then immediately recognized what was coming and turned around and sprinted back. It was a screen and then a seal, trying to lob it inside a Crowell to get the 2. And Hoiberg comes flying in from the corner, shows off the athleticism, flying through the air, perfectly timed.
Flying in like a high safety, flying in like a single high safety in a football game.
Picked off the lob that it was there. Like if he had not gotten there, it's a dunk or a layup, depending on how aggressively Crowell would have went up with the bucket. But pick that thing off. Then they go down, and Greasel attacked the basket, miss, but Derek Walker got the offensive rebound, got fouled, which happened to be Tyler Wall's 5th, so he was done for the game. And then Walker, who has struggled at the line, stepped up and went 2 for 2. So at that point, it's basically ball game. Nebraska hits 4 more free throws down the stretch there, doesn't miss to seal the game. And again, like you said, 12-0 run to end overtime. Wisconsin doesn't make a shot. So just really impressive performance, execution on both ends. Wasn't all there the whole game, but for much of the second half and for all of overtime, it was there. Nebraska did exactly what it needed to do, both ends of the court. They got contributions from everybody that stepped out there, and they were able to score a big win. I think I saw the graphic somewhere. Their previous biggest comeback this season was down by 8 against Arkansas Pine Bluff. So coming back from down 17 to beat Wisconsin, little bit more impressive of a feat than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they've got 5 more regular season games left, 5 more, and 3 of the 5 are at home. And dare I say that they are all gettable. I don't want to go full have Purdue football. We had a winnable game. I'm not going to quite go there yet, but Minnesota's still on there. Minnesota's still bad. Maryland has not played well away from the Xfinity Center much this year. And then I don't know what Michigan State is. And then again, I don't know what the rest of the Big Ten is at all, especially after today. So I really, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, today we're referring to Purdue blowing an 8-point lead with 4 minutes to go against Northwestern in a game that was just breaking my brain because Northwestern was wearing black and gold jerseys while Purdue was wearing white on Northwestern's floor. So like just when I tuned into the game, the visual of it, like which team is which kind of threw me for a loop. But I walked away with Purdue up 8, like less than 4 minutes to go, thinking, oh, this game's over. It was not over. Northwestern came back to win that thing. And yeah, it was Purdue really.
See, I didn't know Northwestern still had those jerseys in the rotation. They're modeled after like a gate on campus somewhere, but those are also the same jerseys that from the Derek Pardon full court lob game where they beat Michigan to arguably clinch their last tournament berth. So maybe there's something in the jerseys for Northwestern. I don't know. Just my dorky thought.
If I'm mathing correctly, 21-3 finish to that game.
Excuse me?
Yeah. 55-47 to 58-64.
Oh.
5 turnovers from Purdue down the stretch. They only took 4 more shots. They only took 2 shots and 4 free throws in those last 4 minutes because of the 5 turnovers. So like you said, Big Ten doesn't make any sense. Purdue, the one team in the country that seemed like, okay, we're not messing around. Went around and messed around, and now they
found out
another loss.
They found out.
Did. Northwestern, your second place in the Big Ten Wildcats, and what Purdue's third, right?
Third loss.
Third loss. Rutgers is third, is what I meant.
Rutgers lost yesterday to Illinois. So now the standings in order is Purdue at 12-3, a tie for second between Northwestern and Indiana, who talk about a roller coaster EKG in basketball this year, followed by Illinois, and then a 5-way tie at 8-6. Wisconsin at 6-8, Penn State 5-9, your Nebraska Cornhuskers 5-10, Ohio State just off the deep end at 3-11, and Minnesota at 1-12, with that one win being over Ohio State.
Yeah, I'd say Nebraska broke Ohio State, but they were broken before that.
Yeah, they were already trending down, and Holtman's still wearing the vest, so I don't think Titus talked to him.
You hate to see it. But mention Rutgers because that's what's next for Nebraska, a trip to the RAC. Yes, it's the RAC. We're not calling it that other name. And Rutgers recently lost starter And Mawat Mag for the season wasn't a huge contributor offensively. 8 points a game, 5 boards. But yeah, just important piece for them gone. But they still have big Cliff there in the middle. Cam Spencer's actually had a pretty decent season for them as a transfer. Paul Mulcahy has just kind of been okay. Hasn't been very. He's averaging 9 points a game, shooting well from 3, which is interesting, but not taking many.
I've kind of jokingly called him New Jersey Sam Griesel all year because of the way he plays. It's very similar. Just smart. You'll see him try to post guys up every now and again. And no, I'm not just saying that because he's a 6'7" white dude. The way they play it's similar. It's New Jersey Sam Griesel, but like you said, with big
a little cockier, but
Sam hasn't worn a headband yet either. Paul's a big headband guy, but this game kind of looks like it's gonna fit it might fit the double Cliff and see if threes fall blueprint. It might fit that, but we'll we'll obviously see on Tuesday night at the building formerly known as the Rack.
Bad news. Rutgers is second in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. Under Steve Peichel, they every single year. I really don't like their offensive talent, and they find ways to win anyway. And it's largely because of the defense and their physicality and toughness and all that type of stuff. Bad news is they are 22nd in the country in opponent turnover percentage. So, like I said, Nebraska really has to clean that stuff up because this is a team that will try to force turnovers. That'll be aggressive. They've got some length at various spots out there. Cliff's a big guy on the back line there. They're good at defending the 3. They're good at defending the 2. They don't send teams to the free throw line a ton. They're top 40 in block percentage. So they're 5th in the country in steal percentage. So again, those turnovers, live ball turnovers, are death in this game. Nebraska cannot give the ball away, or this just is. Rutgers probably isn't offensively talented enough to pull away unless you're giving them run out dunks. So that's going to be the key for Nebraska: ball security and being smart, finding ways to get good looks. And then they have to continue that defensive mindset again. You got to bring the same kind of mindset that Rutgers is going to bring with Peichel there. It's going to be a battle. You got to be ready for it from the start. You can't dig yourself a hole because, you can't. Saturday against Wisconsin, incredible. They're probably not going to win another game if they dig themselves a 17-point hole. That's probably a once in a season type of occurrence where everything fell their way. The margin for error is just so tiny to begin with, and you can't let that happen. So good start, ball security, and bringing that defensive toughness there.
Yep, absolutely. Has the makings of a street fight between Nebraska and Rutgers on Tuesday. But yeah, Rutgers is tough. They were ranked this past week before they lost to Illinois, so they'll probably slip out of the top 25. But that is on Tuesday night at the arena formerly known as the Rack. And then Nebraska does not play again until Sunday when the other East Coast Big Ten team gets their return trip to Lincoln for a Sunday 4:00 game against the Terps. So that's the schedule coming up. And so like we said, 5 games left, and then Chicago. So we're hitting the stretch run.
Yeah. So we'll probably record our next kind of game breakdown episode sometime after that Maryland game. Got a whole week off after that, basically before they play again. So we'll come back at you then. We've got some things that we may try to effort a guest or two in the meantime over the next couple of weeks. So we'll play that one by ear. But before we kind of sign off on this one, I found out what it feels like to be the main character on Twitter. on Saturday. Just mentions basically have been on fire for the last 24 hours or so since I tweeted that I thought it was incredibly lame to boo Chucky Hepburn. And I mean, you go ahead. You were there. Kind of describe like what the situation was, because I wasn't even there. Like obviously, like I was just reacting to what I was seeing from others that were there about it.
Yeah, I mean, he got booed when he got introed. I mean, he was the last guy to get introed. They didn't say they weren't doing hometowns. They were just saying number whatever, who's so and so, and number 23, Chucky Hepburn, student section, boo. It wasn't like vitriolic. It wasn't like I couldn't hear any like obscenities getting yelled at him. The people that were trying to talk the most grief to him were the band, and they were doing that on like free throws. So they were down on the end in their Hawaiian shirts yelling. So they were that was the only place I heard people yelling at him was the band. So that's the first thing. Secondly, it wasn't, people weren't funny enough. So I just listened to Nick Baugh's Mailbag podcast, and he talked about a similar situation that he went through his freshman year at Kansas, where he came back to the Devaney Center and he was getting booed from the minute he stepped on the court for warm-ups, had, said every time he looked in the crowd he saw somebody he knew, people telling him F you and you traitor and da 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 da. And then he told his recruiting story and how he, sat down with Barry Collier, and all Barry Collier wanted him to do was walk on. And he said, we see you having a career similar to this guy. And he said, a guy who made 2 shots in his career as a walk-on at Nebraska. And Nick obviously, went to Kansas and then Creighton, and now he's made a career for himself. But that just was ironic to me because I listened to that podcast and then we saw a similar situation happen with Chucky. Now, Chucky, I will say this. He played varsity for 4 years at Bellevue West. He played plenty of games in that building. He's one of the better high school players that we've seen come through this state. But if there's anyone that I know that wasn't expecting a warm welcome and would feed off of that unwarm welcome, it's Chucky Hepburn. And with the way he was, he took 21 shots. He finished with 19 points. He had the chance for the Hollywood ending at the end, and it just didn't happen. Yeah. But I think, it was. I wasn't a fan of it at first, but it wasn't like vitriolic. They weren't, chanting obscenities at him. It just, in my opinion, and this is another point of discussion, if Wisconsin and Nebraska were the last 2 schools in the running for him recruiting, and he picked Wisconsin, that would make much more sense. But that was not the case.
And and on top, the starting lineup, and then basically
every time he touched the ball.
Exactly.
Every time he touched the ball.
Yeah, just right away. That's kind of what I was reacting to. I just said I thought it was Wayne. And I'm coming at this as, again, you got to understand who I am, what I do, my background. I've been watching Chucky since he was in 8th grade. I know Chucky. I know his family. He's a really, really good kid. Just the kind of kid that you really like to root for. Done everything right the whole way through. I am an advocate for kids in the state, no matter where they go. Love it seeing guys at Nebraska, being able to write about what Sam Griesel is doing this year has been a lot of fun for me. It's got, again, another guy that I previously had a relationship with that I saw come up through. It's great seeing Sharif Mitchell at Creighton come and have a big game on Saturday against UConn. Made some really big plays for them, and after everything he's battled through, that's just who I am. I'm cheering for Hunter Salas out of Gonzaga, cheering for John Tonje at Colorado State. I'm rooting for all these kids that that
you watch these
are
guys
good
play.
kids. Yeah,
You watch these guys play from a certain age, and you see enough of them, and you get to know them, and you feel a connection to them.
Yes.
Whether you don't have to be a friend, you don't have to be a family. You just feel a connection to them. There's a reason why I've stayed up way too damn late watching Gonzaga games and Mountain West games, finding ESPN Plus streams to watch Cal State Fulton play. It's because I definitely haven't been in it as long or as deep as you have, but I feel similarly. And I didn't have the personal connection with Chuck, but just the games I've seen him play, the way he's carried himself, every time that Wisconsin's been back here, he's been at the Bellevue West game the night before. He's been, taking pictures with anybody who asked to take pictures with him. I mean, he's just a salt of the earth, a salt of the earth kind of kid, salt of the earth kind of dude. When they came back last year and the circumstances that he was dealing with personally off the court, the death of a close friend, and everything surrounding that, and he got to come back home, see family, and he played a good game. And it's just we weren't trying to. You weren't, looking to, pick fights with Nebraska fans or insult Nebraska fans or anything like that. And it, you just felt a connection. You feel a connection to Chuck because of how long you've watched him and you've gotten to know him. And you weren't the only one, you weren't the only one saying things like that. But got a little heated online. got a little heated.
Yeah, and part of my deal is like, again, you mentioned last year wasn't the case last year, and I'm glad it wasn't because of all those outside the court circumstances. Like, I haven't really seen fans get that engaged with opponents all season long.
The last time I remember PBA, was Mo Wagner. That was the last time I remember PBA coming after one guy and one guy only, and it was Mo Wagner. That was much more vitriolic and vicious than anything that was going on Saturday. But we hadn't seen PBA get like that in a while.
Yeah,
that was also part of it.
It just felt weird for me to all right, we're gonna. This game, we're going to target one person. Like, yes, like, and people have mentioned, like anytime somebody leaves a state and comes back, they're going to get it. It's like, I just don't understand that mindset. Like that kids born in Nebraska are they're obligated to go to Nebraska, and if they don't, then they deserve everything coming their way from that standpoint. Like, I'll never subscribe to that type of belief mindset. Like, be a fan, go have fun, support your team, make a lot of noise. But like that in particular, like the traitor, the shouldn't have spurned the local team. I'll get a ton of that, all that type of thing. Like, I'll just leave it like, I think you and I both know a little bit more about that situation than a lot of fans do, and how that whole thing played out. And a lot of factors at play there.
I will just say this, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
The person that was employed by Nebraska that recruited Chucky Hepburn the hardest and had the closest relationship with him was not retained by this staff and is now the head coach at Ball State.
Yes.
And I will leave it at that.
Yeah. That changed, and then he 6 months after the new staff took over, committed to Wisconsin, had previously who had been recruiting him and made him a priority, and
gave him a pitch that made sense, comparing him to every smart, savvy Wisconsin guard that we've seen for the last 15 years, because Wisconsin basketball has looked the same for 15 years, whether it's under Greg Gard or Bo Ryan. They said, we see you as this guy, and it fit.
Yes. And so won't dive in any more of that, but like, okay, if he had badmouth Nebraska repeatedly after that situation, like, okay, then I understand fans react in that way. But just because he's if you're gonna just treat every opposing star player that way, like, just that's kind of my deal. Is like, I don't I don't get targeting Chucky specifically because he went somewhere else, like the trader, all that type of stuff. I think that's nonsense.
There was more vitriol toward you online and in reference to Chucky than there was in the arena on Saturday. I will say that.
And again, like knowing, like coming from my perspective, and like, Chucky, I'm sure there was probably part of him that like was hurt by it, but there's also part of him, all right, I'm going to feed off this because that's the kind of player athlete he is.
Absolutely.
But he had a lot of friends and family in there, and I've seen like, and those are the people that those people were probably hurt more by it more than anything like that Chucky himself felt. So it just there are always people behind the jerseys. There are people around the athletes that are impacted by things that go on. And I wasn't calling out. And there's a lot of people, oh, what about this thing that that Creighton fans did, or what about when this did? Like this, the reason I spoke up is because of that personal relationship.
You have a unique circumstance. Yes. You have
I wasn't saying, oh, Nebraska, you can't boo, never boo, like all that type, like
part of sports.
Yeah,
it's part of sports.
Do what you're gonna do. Just if you want PBA to be like that kind of intimidating place to go, then bring that energy every single game. All right, don't save it for a kid that took a better offer. That was made more a bigger priority by another program,
and committed to a school where there weren't assistant coaches going on local radio stations saying things about the competition that he faced.
Yes,
and that's all I'll say. So if you have any further questions, my Twitter DMs are open. Go ahead, and I will welcome you with open arms.
All right. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I think my mentions have started to calm down. Like I didn't reply to a lot of people because it's just not worth it. But
did you hit 60,000 views on the tweet yet? Last I saw it was at 55K.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Last week was supposed to be a good basketball week for you. Your team got Kevin Durant, and then Twitter had other ideas. But so that's all. That's this week's episode of the podcast. The week that was, the Keisei Tominaga experience continues to thrill the fans, the people who cover this team. Eric Olson from the AP had a pretty good write-up on Keisei too this week. I will say that. We've got 5 games left, and then a trip to Chicago. I can't believe this. I might try to go to Chicago. I'm just going to say it. I might try to go. Why not? Like the way, not just for Nebraska, but for just how backwards this conference is this year. That conference tournament might be worth a quick little 45-minute flight to Chicago. It might be. So
I don't know how accurate it is. 107.1 thousand views. So
thanks, Elon. Thanks, Elon. But yeah, that's the podcast for the week. Go check out Drake Keeler. Drake Keeler stepped in to fill Jacob's shoes. He had his game recap. Go check out Jacob's write-up from the Harlan Hoops Classic. Great event every year. Had a couple showcase games for Nebraska teams against out-of-state teams. You wrote plenty of words for your once again extended stay in Grand Island, Nebraska. Go check out my game story. It's up on HuskersIllustrated.com. You can check it on my social media platforms too. It was a fun one to write. I will say this, fun one to write. I was sitting in the press room. Wu-Tang Clan came on shuffle, and I said, "Here we go. It's time. We're gonna power through this." Gravel Pit by Wu-Tang Clan came on, and I'm like, "This is it. This is the time." So go check that out. My social media is HuskersIllustrated.com for the game story. Be on the lookout for my column that's coming soon, the monthly Bigelow and basketball column, talking about the guys who have stepped into big roles: Jamarcus Lawrence, Sam Hoiberg, Denham Dawson, a little bit on Blaise Keita after yesterday, and how they've made the most of their opportunities during this stretch run for Nebraska. Look forward to the Padding the Stats column. I've said it all year. It's a must read. Do your podcast chores. Leave a review. Follow. Subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It's the stretch run, and here we go. It's almost the most wonderful time of year. Postseason college basketball right around the corner. So close we can taste it. But until next week, Nebraska Shootaround podcast.